Hi there, welcome to MographPlus.com. It's Khezri here. In this tutorial, I'm gonna be walking you through creating this nice, twisted, fantasy mixed environment. As you can see, it's spring here, so let's go actually transfer our environment from winter on the left side to spring on the right side. So let's go ahead and get started. Obviously, we're going to be doing it using Vue, so it's not a Cinema 4D tutorial, which is a bit unconventional for our website and our channel, but you know, Vue is a very powerful software, and let's give it a try and see what we can come up with. So here we are inside Vue, and let's start by creating a terrain. So I'm gonna right click and create a procedural terrain. Let's go ahead and change its scale a bit. I'm gonna go to 4 kilometer across and about 750 meters, something like this would be enough. Let's go ahead and double click on it and get to our terrain editor. I'm going to right click and edit the function that controls this terrain. Okay. Let's see. Why? Sorry. Okay. So I'm going to change the simple fractal to terrain fractal version 2. And let's go ahead and change some of the values. For meta scale, I'm going to something like 350. For large future, let's go to something like 31. Small futures, obviously I've experimented with this value, and this is the values that I come up with. You can go ahead and actually change these values and see what they do exactly. For small future and for gain, let's go to something like 850. So there we go. And then for our overall aspect, turbulence, I'm going to reduce it to something like this. Turbulence dampening would be 0.6. Our large scale smoothness, let's reduce this value a bit. And our buoyancy, let's go to something like this. And for our ground aspect, for bump surge, let's go to something like 0.67. For rock abundance, that's a good value. Let's see, maybe something like this. And for our soil thickness, let's go ahead and increase this value a bit. Okay, and I think we are good to go. Let me hit OK, and also make sure to turn off these zero edges, so we're gonna be getting this sort of terrain. Okay, that is not too bad. Let's hit OK and see what we got. There we go. Get back here, that's our camera. And let's see, sorry, select the camera here. Let's move it back. So we're getting something like this. And let's see, that's not too bad, I guess. Okay. Okay, folks, now that we have this, let's go ahead and actually focus on our atmosphere. So I'm going to my atmosphere editor. We are having global radiosity turned on. And let's change our atmosphere model to standard spectral. And for my sun, I'm going to increase the azimuth and also increase the pitch, something like 40 degrees. So the sun is coming from this side, which is cool. Let's see. In my light balance, I'm going to increase the effect of my sunlight, so the light balance will be, the lighting will be more affected by our sunlight and not our ambient. That's another. For the cloud, let's go ahead and actually add this layer, yellow alto stratus. So let's go ahead and actually add it. And the default height is actually enough. The default altitude is actually enough. And let's see, I'm going to have a bright color for my haze color and actually increase this haze amount to something like 60%. Okay, so that's what we have. And also we can go ahead and actually increase our aerial perspective, so we are having a bit more feel of distance. So okay, so that's what we have, and you can see a preview up there. Yeah, let's go ahead and actually work on our material and see what we can do. The camera can be changed later on. Okay folks, the first material will be the snow and also our gray rocks. So let's go ahead and actually click on our procedural terrain and open up the material that we're using. Now let's go ahead and actually change this material. Let's see, if I go to my landscapes, just this default layer would do. I'm going to change this grass layer significantly and make it much more darker, and also for the rock I'm going to do the same thing, much more darker. So that's our material. As you can see, it has been applied, and that is cool. Let's go ahead and add another layer, which is going to be the snow layer. And the first thing I want to do for this snow is increase the alpha, so it's going to be much more obvious. And also what I'm going to do is to limit it to certain places on my rocks. So if I go to my environments, I want my snow to appear only on flat surfaces. So for that matter, we can go ahead and actually use our slope constraint, and let's go ahead and actually decrease this value to be from 0 to something like 40 degrees. And as you can see from the render, the snow will appear only on the surfaces that are flat, or surfaces are flatter basically. And we can go ahead and make this maybe something like this. I like this a bit more. Or let's see, go to 40% exactly. So let's type in 40. Obviously, there we go. So that's what we have. Let's quickly make sure it's preview and render this thing and see what we get. So that's what we have by default, which is not too bad. Let's see what we can do. If I select my terrain, let's see if everything is right. Obviously I'm going to decrease this to something like 750 meter, and I think that would be a bit nicer, a bit more natural than those very sharp ridges up there. Let's go ahead and quickly render it and see what we get this time. Okay, that's much more closer. Also the sun's still not exactly where I want it to be, so I'm going to select my sun and give it maybe about here, see what it's gonna look like. And let's make sure turn off to point at camera option, and also I think we can go ahead and rotate it a bit to maybe something like this. And let's see if we can go to something like this. Okay, I guess that's better. Let's go ahead and quickly render preview. Okay, the obvious problem here is our snow isn't that shiny, isn't that glowing, and it doesn't look like snow. It's maybe something between sand and snow. So let's go ahead and actually work on our material. Our snow, let's go to our effect and increase the luminous to something like 20%, maybe 16%. Let's see how that's gonna work. And as you can see from the preview, definitely gonna look much more better. Okay, so that's what we have, and that's not too bad actually. Great, so let's go ahead and actually see if we can find a nice place for our camera. I'm going to open up the setting for our camera, and I'm going to change my aspect to 46 by 21, which is a bit weird, but I think it would be better. And for my focal length, I'm going to something like maybe 36, really a bit more normal than this very wide length that we got here at the moment. And let's see what we can create. Maybe something like this. It's a bit more nicer. Let's get up and make sure. Okay, definitely not too bad. Let's render it again. Okay, that's definitely closer to what we want. Now let's go ahead and actually add some detail to our scene. The first thing I want to add is a dead tree. So let's right click here, and we're going to be using this one, leafless tree, old and dead. Okay, now where are you, fella? Let's go ahead and actually put it up there. I'm going to increase its size, and let's not that, maybe a bit smaller and a bit closer and a bit to this side, and let's put it down a bit, pull it back, something like this. Isn't too bad, but let's put it down here. I think that's really not too bad. We can make it a bit bigger. Maybe something like this is cool enough, and you can see it in our preview. That's cool. Also, I want to add a meta cloud, so let's go ahead and actually click in here. Let's see, put it back, maybe up there, or basically I think something like here would be nice, so we have some detail, because we're going to be adding a lot of stuff to this side of our scene, so it would be a bit unwise to left this side so empty. So let's go ahead and actually add this cloud here, something like this. I mean, something that it's a bit more of a fantasy thing. You go ahead and you change it the way you want it to. Let's quickly preview our scene. Okay, that is nice. Yeah, that's cool actually. Let's go ahead and actually work on our spring side. So I'm gonna select my procedural terrain, open up the material, and let's see. So I'm going to add a new layer, and on your landscape you got this natural 3. Let's go ahead and actually add this, and I'm going to, here it is, my grass and my gray clamps. Cool stuff. At the moment, if you take a look, you can see our preview has been modified, but what we want to do is to add this material to only 50% of our scene. So if you take a look at from our top view, you can see here is our camera, and we would possibly want to have 50% of our scene from here, from half to be like spring, and from here to be winter. So let's go ahead, select the material, open it up, and what I'm going to do, first of all, increase the alpha boost to 0, so it kind of controls and override our snow completely. And the next thing would be to, as you can see, you have, if you go to this gray and this grass, you got this alpha, even though you got this alpha 2, but it kind of blend them to material here, this distribution of material. But here you can control the alpha of these 2 layers. So let's go ahead and actually right click and edit the function, and here is our function editor, and see here is our alpha. What I'm going to do is to add a texture map, double click, and let's see, there we go. Get a bit closer, and I'm going to my texture map, and let's load that. So if you go to your project file that I've provided with this tutorial, here's your this alpha texture. Let's open it up, and let's connect our alpha to this. There we go, grayscale output. And if you select this alpha map, let's come here and go to your UV coordinate node, and let's change our mapping to this toroidal, and let's see what we're gonna get. I'm gonna hit OK. Okay, hit OK again, and if I get back here, and I'm going to quickly change this view possibly to perspective view. So let's see what we get from this angle. So if you render from here, you see the distribution a bit better. Let's go ahead and quickly, if you take a look at the preview, it kind of worked, but it is not exactly the way we want it. You see from this preview here, that's our camera view. So we're going to be possibly, we should view our scene from here. So it's not exactly the way we want it, and we possibly need to actually revert our alpha. So let's go to our material editor, and let's go to this grass layer, and I'm going to right click, edit function, go to your UV coordinates, and put a negative behind your X, and that should do the trick. And if you take a look at your preview, it's exactly doing what we want. Perfect. So I'm going to my camera, and based on this preview, I would actually like to change it a bit. So let me possibly go to something like this. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's see. Okay, that's definitely better. I want to open up my material and add other layers. Let's go ahead, add a default layer. Let's see, if you go to your basics and add a flat gray, and let's change this flat gray to be ecosystem material. I'm just going to select my flat gray and delete it. And also one other thing that we forgot, let's go ahead and actually do the same thing. I'm going to copy this function and paste it here also on my gray layer, gray clamps. And for my first layer of ecosystem, let's go ahead and actually add some grass. I'm going to be adding this patch of grass. View is loading it. There we go. And also let's add these long grass, or let's see, these dry weeds would possibly be nice also. So let's go ahead and actually open them up. For scaling, let's go ahead and actually increase them significantly to something like this, or when a bit bigger. And for density, let's go to something like 86%. Okay, that would be enough, even though they're not going to be seen that much, but let's populate them and see what's going to happen. Right now, if we populate them, they're going to be populated all over the place, and because these are the elements that we want to be to appear only on our spring side of our scene, we can go ahead and actually limit their appearance and where they're going to appear. So let's go ahead and actually do that. There is this edit alpha button. So let's go ahead and see where we are. Here is our alpha. Let's just go and put these guys back here. Here is our alpha. I'm going to add a texture map here. Just double click again, and there we go. And I'm going to connect my alpha to the grayscale output. And here, let's load the same texture that we had before. So there we go. And select your UV tab, UV node, sorry, and change your mapping mode to this. And the same values will be applied here exactly. Okay. Now let's go ahead and populate this and see what we can get. It's going to take some time, but it's done. And as you can see, we are getting the grasses and all of those plants only on the right side of our scene, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so let's quickly render this. So there we go. Here is what we have. And just for fun, I'm going to my layer, and if I go to my color, I'm going to enable variable color. And let's go ahead and double click here. Go to your rocks and grass. Let's load this one here, and I think it would kind of make it a bit more natural. Let's populate it again to apply the changes. Okay, so that would be it. Let's render it again. We are rendering at preview, so the quality would be very low, but we are having something very quick, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so that's about it. It's a bit, maybe we can go ahead and make them a bit smaller, but I think that would work just fine. So let's hit OK, and I'm going to open up my material again. And let's go ahead and add other layers. Let's just rename this layer to grass. Okay. Let's add another layer. Let's use the same flat gray and convert it to an ecosystem. And let's delete this ecosystem, this flat gray layer, and name this layer trees. And for this layer, let's add some trees. So let's go to our trees. This rural maple tree would be nice. And also we can go ahead and add this bulky conifer. So let's go ahead and OK. Going to my density and go to something like maybe 75% for starting. And in my scaling and orientation, let's go ahead and increase them because we have a very big terrain. So let's go to something like 3.5. And also I'm going to keep my proportion a bit down so we get a bit more irregularity and uniformity throughout our trees, and there would be small and big trees. That's cool. And let's see what we get. Obviously we forgot to populate, so let's populate. Okay, that's what we are getting everywhere. And that simply means we need to actually edit our alpha. So let's select our alpha. Same thing, add a texture map and connect it. Go to your texture map. Let's connect it and select your texture map first of all and load the alpha that we have, and the same procedure, -1. Okay, and populate it again. Perfect. So hit OK. So that's what we have at the moment. And as you can see, the polys are about 4,377,000,000. And a moment before we actually restrict the trees for the right part, we had about 7 billion polys, and that's simply the power of Vue that can handle these very big scenes very simply. So let's go ahead and actually render this and see what we get. So that's our render. If I hit OK, that's not too bad. I think the trees can be a bit bigger, and they could be a bit less dense, and they are everywhere at the moment. So what we can do, let's go ahead and actually work on them. Density could be less, scale could be bigger. Let's populate it again. And as you can see, we have some changes obviously. And we can go to our general tab and actually make our bulky conifer to be a bit bigger. So let's go to something like 2 and see what we're gonna get. So as you can see, they are very big obviously. Let's go to something like 1.2 and populate them again. I mean, they could be nice. Let's go to 1.5. Let's make this guy something like 25% and this 75% and populate again. Okay, that's definitely not too bad. Let me go ahead and render it again, even though it's a bit different from the original scene that I worked on, but I think this could work. Okay, I guess that's nice. It is cool actually, but let's go ahead, see if we can still make the density a bit less. See what we get. That's the result. Let's render. I mean, you work and you play around with different attributes until you get what you want. I'm going to add some color variation, so let's go ahead and actually enable our variable color on our tree. So let's go ahead and I'm going to load a color map, and let's use this color map that I've prepared for you. So if you want to use, you can use this color map, or you can create your own color map simply by changing this gradient, double click and change the color to the way you want. And I'm possibly thinking of maybe going toward reds a bit, desaturate them a bit toward maybe something like this for here, and let's populate them again and see what we are gonna get. See it's okay, and render it again and see what you get. So there you go, that's what we have right now, and I think it's really cool. These trees could be still a bit smaller, I guess, and I think that would be a bit nicer and a bit more natural, but what we have is obviously very nice and cool. And if you, let's go and actually increase the quality a bit so we can see our render a bit better. Let me go ahead and change this material a bit. Just let's load a simple color map, maybe this one, and see how that's going to work. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to add some differences. Just let's go ahead and actually see how that's going to work if I populate it. Okay, I think that would be a bit more natural, even though a bit different from what we have created in our render, but I think that's kind of similar, so it doesn't have to be exactly the same thing. You can go ahead and change the colors and get some nice variations, but here we see what we get. So that's our render, and I think it's not too bad. We got some green leaves, yellowish green leaves, and that's kind of nice. We can go ahead and add more variations if we want. Let's go ahead and actually edit this color map. Maybe let's go ahead and add a nice weird color in between. Let's see how that's gonna work. Maybe a bit more saturated here. It's okay. Let's populate, and you can take a look at our previews here. As you can see, it adds so many changes to our render. Let me quickly change my quality to preview, and quickly maybe we can just really render this side and see what we get. So here is what we have, and really you can decide whether you are happier with this look or the look that we had before. I think I'm going to stay with what we have right now. In fact, I might add some other variations. So let's go ahead, maybe make this a bit more limited, double click, and let's go ahead and add some different colors here, less saturated. Okay, and go to something like this maybe, and let's see, I guess that would be nice. Go ahead and make it a bit more limited, but I think if we populated it would be cool. Okay, let's see, it's okay, and quickly render maybe let's just go ahead and actually render the whole thing so we can see how it kind of matches with our scene. It's not quite spring-like here, but it's a nice mixture, I guess. We can go and simply remove all of that variations, but I think that is definitely not too bad. That's what we have at the moment, and I think that's cool. And for final changes, I don't know, let's see. I would love to get back some of that green feeling again, so let's maybe get there and make it a bit more, let's see, it's not too bad. Maybe something like this. Okay, and populate. It really depends on you. You can go ahead and change them forever. Okay, let's see what we get this time. Okay guys, I think I'm happier with this, and you can go ahead and change them the way you want. I think we're in a good position. The only material that still needs a bit of work is this snow material. Let me just go ahead and open my material, and here's this snow. And if I go to environment, we have this slope range defined, so let's go ahead and actually add some fuzziness. Some maybe 7% would be more than enough. And also let's go ahead and actually make our luminous something like 8%. I think it was, there we go, something like 8% would work just fine. Okay, and maybe let's increase the fuzziness to something like 9%. Okay, that is not too bad. We can go ahead, right click for our render setting, make sure it's rendering to our screen, and let's go to final or in broadcast. And if I go to my user setting, I can go ahead and actually work on my anti-aliasing if I want to go ahead and increase or decrease my setting, or if you want to add some multipass and do some compositing, you can go ahead and actually add all of these different passes. That view gives you basically everything here, and define where you want to save it and hit OK, and it will be saved with your render. And that is it. Let's go ahead and make sure we are rendering something like 1800 would be enough, and that is good. And I think we can go ahead and finally render it. So I'm going to render it. So that's our final render, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. As you can see, we got a lot of detail, and as you can see, it's very nice. And bingo, we are done. And also I will be including this project file, so you can download it and study the scene if you wanted to. So thank you for watching this tutorial from mographplus.com. Make sure to check out our website, mographplus.com. We have some premium Cinema 4D tutorials, some V-Ray for Cinema 4D tutorials, some motion graphic courses that are gonna definitely be very, very useful. We just released this realistic interior visualization in V-Ray for C4D that's going to be really useful, and we have this cubicle project, this comprehensive introduction to V-Ray for Cinema 4D. We have this cubicle, this box project, and this gift project, which both are motion graphics in Cinema 4D, and we have this Add 1 3D motion graphics in Cinema 4D and Real Flow. So make sure to check them out. And also we got our free tutorials, obviously, where we upload our free tutorials. Also, I've included project files for this tutorial that you just watched. Thank you for watching. See you next time.